Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing Hulu's original series, Devs, season finale, episode 8. Here's a synopsis of the final episode. Inside the Devs lab, Forrest shows Lily a projection of what she is about to do. Holding Kenton's gun on Forrest, she leads him to the transportation capsule out of Devs and shoots him in the head, causing the capsule to crash and killing Lily in the fall. Beyond this point, Devs can see nothing. Forrest tells Lily that their actions have been predetermined and that the system's real name is Deus. Lily leads Forrest into the capsule as projected. But as the doors close, she throws the gun away, shocking Forrest before they can reach the entrance. Stewart overrides the electromagnetic field that suspends the capsule and causes it to crash. Forrest and Lily die, and Stewart tells a devastated Katie that the system had to be stopped before walking away. Lily regains consciousness on the day before Sergei joined Devs and finds an empty field where the Devs building once stood, and Forrest playing with his wife and his daughter there. He tells her that Katie reconstructed them from the moment of their from their moment of their exact deaths, and now that they exist in a simulation inside the Devs machine, where the two of them are the only ones who can remember what happened. In the real world, an emotional Katie reveals that the Devs system to Senator Lane. In the real world, an emotional Katie reveals that the Dev system to Senator Lane and asks her to help keep it turned on. Inside Devs, Lily finds Jamie and hugs him when he returns. So this was the very last episode of this extremely interesting miniseries directed, written, produced by Alex Garland. This has kind of been his, I don't want to say it's a mini project, but basically his movie of this year, given that he's had several really interesting sci-fi concepts. This is his miniseries concept. And I think that overall this was it's an interesting tackle on a way to talk about sci-fi and predictability and AI technology. I do think, kind of going back over it and regurgitating in my head, I think that they might have made a couple leaps in logic that might not make too much sense to me personally. The fact that they are able to upload consciousness to the computer was not something that was on the forefront of my mind at first. I thought this was all about predictability, but now there's about, uploading consciousness and recreating consciousness, and they didn't really touch on the Westworld, what is life, versus being in a simulation versus being a robot versus being, what is actually living. They didn't really touch on it. They just are touching on the predictive aspects of it, I guess. And so, overall, I thought these last couple episodes, with the exception of 6, I thought 6 was an episode that needed to accompany a 7 or 8 to have some action. There was so much heavy exposition between some of these main characters and lack of pacing on episode 6 that it made 7 and 8 feel like it probably packed more of a wallop of a punch, because there was so much explaining they needed to do for episode 6 that I guess I needed just a little bit more action with that, or just not just the action, but emotion towards understanding that you can be predicted. But obviously that all came out in the final episodes. So here's a couple notes that I wrote down about this last episode. Final episode, there's some very interesting shots of the main cast at the beginning. I assume that these are the cast members that have been entered into the Devs machine. Forrest, Jamie, and Lily. At the beginning, the machine sounds like it's breathing. There's also talk of Forrest taking Lily's quote unquote life, which he completely destroyed her life. It is, they took the boyfriends, both of them are dead. Took her life, or they're about to take her life, but they've really fucked up her life from like a legal standpoint. Um, we're down. She and Forrest are watching themselves in the future in the Dev's machine. Lily kills Forrest in the cube elevator, falls, and the way that it falls is absolutely beautiful. And the predictive aspect of this part is that we expect that the elevator is crashing with Forrest and Lily in it because Lily shoots Forrest in that scenario. But it's actually because Stewart turns off the electromagnetic field and says that it's predetermined. There's a line that's repeated from Jamie to Lily again, talking about tech leaders think they're messiahs, kind of think they're holier than thou. They run the world um, and whatnot, and that they are 100% sure in their predictive aspects. They're so wrapped up in their own world that they couldn't possibly be wrong. And so, um, what was interesting was knowing that Forrest and Alison Pill's character are both very familiar with how this day goes because they've watched this happen 100 times, and it's the one things they can say are things that they know this is going to happen. They're like, I just can't stand this. I don't understand why you got to do this. I don't understand why I have to do this, but they just end up doing those things anyway because they've seen themselves do it in the Dev's machine multiple times. So let me see what else we got. They change it from Devs to Deus. I think he said it was a Latin joke or something like that. The V is actually a U. And Deus, maybe there's hints of a season 2, and that's what it's going to be called. Let's see. The other coder, Stewart, yeah, he was the one that ends up actually taking out the Dev's machine with Lily and Forrest in it. Let me see. I love the little gold pockets of glass that are on the floor as... Oh, they're not on the floor. They're on the floor. They're on the wall. It's all within the inside electromagnetic field of the Dev's machine. And when Lily hits it, he's like... When Lily and Forrest hit the ground, they both are trying to scramble out of the machine, out of the electromagnetic field, and they're just trying to scramble on the bottom of the gold floor. It is just like, what the heck, I really wanted Lily to live at that point, but it was such a stylistic way of showing it. I had no complaints. So the Devs machine predicted very close what would happen, but not quite. I guess they didn't predict the aspect that Lily was going to go against the predictions. The problem is that small minor prediction didn't change things overall. Things still went basically in the way the Devs machine was going to say they would. And then we get Forrest is in the machine. First of all, before we go to the Forrest is in the machine, I didn't understand anything about Lily as a character that made her so much more greater than, that was able to go outside of free will and express her own her own free will. I didn't think that there was anything about her that made her quote unquote special. So that was the one thing that Alison Pill and Forrest's character are just stunned by at this point. But the problem for me was throughout the entire episode, throughout the entire series, there was nothing that immediately popped off the page that said this. She is special. She's got a unique outlook, or she's got something about her that's unexplainable. I mean, it's some sort of like what the Russian guy said. You inspire me. Like, what did the Russian guy say that she inspired him to do anything? Like, that didn't even make sense at all to my. And in my opinion, that the Russian guy would say that he inspired her. It would make more sense that the Russian guy would say that that I just want to protect you and make sure you're okay. Because that does make sense, but I don't see the inspiration that Lily was, giving these people off. So Forrest is in the machine, which is something that I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think that this was going to just upload consciousness with, we saw the rat and we saw the clock, and we saw how it would take matter and reconstruct it in a way that would, upload predictive aspects into the devs machine. The thing was, I never thought we got anything like, did we see like the rat living way earlier in its life or something? I don't recall that. I thought they were just saying if you just take a piece of an object, you do the predictive aspects forward and backwards of it. I didn't think they could just take a body and do that, but I don't know. Maybe that's for another story. Love the visuals. Flashback to episode 1, essentially. It's kind of like this was only just a dream, but it's actually only just a simulation. And then they show them in the multiverses that could possibly happen. I guess what I think we were seeing at the very end was Forrest having this conversation in multiverses within the devs machine, because the devs machine can show multiple outcomes, and so he could sort of express some quote unquote free will to choose which world they would be living in, and so they seem to be conscious in the quote unquote beautiful world with the nice weather and the wherever they're at in this field where the devs place is. But yeah, my ultimate problem with this series was the lack of ability to show why Lily was quote unquote special. There's so much espionage hidden behind the Russian spies and this corporate overlord who's trying to kill people to keep things contained. But ultimately, it's a very small sci-fi thriller. It's not very big in scale. It's not like we have 20 goons going after our guys. We have one goon going after our main characters. And our main characters, for the majority of the season, are one or two characters, are protagonists. So it's a very small scale of a movie, but it has very big ideas and very beautiful concepts and visuals. And so thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the Devs Episode 8 season finale review. If you have questions, comments, concerns, theluckydogpodcast@gmail.com. Check out all the links below, social medias. Links are below. We have, we got the Facebooks, the Instagrams, they got the Discords, we got we got everything you like, hun. Let's see what else we got. Support to support the podcast, paypal.me/theluckydogpodcast. Link is in the description. Email, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Comments, questions, concerns, users, links to contact us. And we could not do this podcast without you. If you want to come chat with us, hang out with us for some live streams. We like to play some Call of Duty, play some, quarantine games, whatever we can do to stay entertained these days. That's what we're doing. We're hosting it live on Lucky Dog Podcast Twitch. So thank you all for listening, watching Lucky Dog Podcast, whatever you're doing to support. 5 stars on iTunes. It absolutely helps. Check out the rest of the podcast. We have a Money Heist Season 4, Part 4, coming down the tube review. Episode 1's already dropped. We got the new Netflix movie, The Platform. That was pretty crazy. Dropped that already. Aftercast. If you want to hear some behind the scenes on the podcast, tune into the Aftercast. We just talk about, this crazy COVID situation, quarantine games, whatever, watch parties we've been doing, whatever, just bullshitting behind the scenes. It's really just hanging out, answering questions and whatnot. So that's the Aftercast. Thank you all for joining, listening, Lucky Dog Podcast. We could not do this without you. Thank you, and take it easy.